Cam's vaccination status have anything to do with him being released?
No. No, I mean, look, you guys keep talking about that, and, you know, I would just point out that I don't know what the number is. I mean, you guys can look it up. You have the access to a lot of information, but the number of players and coaches and staff members that have, you know, been infected by COVID in this training camp who have been vaccinated is a pretty high number. So I wouldn't lose sight of that.
Perfect deflection by Bill Belichick, because it's not about vaccinated players and staff getting COVID. It's about unvaccinated players being required to be tested every single day, to being subject to a 5-day elimination from the team in the event of close contact with an infected person, to being subject to the misunderstanding that made Cam Newton unavailable last week because he wasn't tested every day at the team facility when he went out of town, didn't get back in time to do it, or just didn't do it, thought he could go to the local Walgreens, I guess, and get a COVID test and call in the results to the league office, and that would be good enough. The fact that you are unvaccinated is a competitive disadvantage, and when you are the most important player on the team, you need to be counted on. And if you can't be counted on to be available every single day, that is necessarily a factor. And they created this rule, they being the league and the union. On one hand, not allowed to consider vaccination status. On the other hand, look at all these incentives for players to be vaccinated. Look at all these reasons to not want unvaccinated players on your team, and nature just takes its course. So it's a stupid rule. It's inconsistent. It makes no sense. And, you know, the only thing that does make sense is answering the question that Belichick was asked by Mike Reese of ESPN.com with no. No, it was not a factor. And you say anything else, and you got to worry about, on top of everything else as the season starts, the NFL Players Association investigating your decision-making processes.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we know in New England, availability, dependability, all those type of things. Damn, I said it again. Either way, ding. Either way, though, you know, at the end of the day, that's what's most important. And, you know, whether it was he's vaccinated or not, I think it just comes down to, like, I mean, can we trust the guy to be dependable and you know, there every day doing the right things? And I think that's got to be a big part of it. And hey, listen, I'm still mad that I didn't think of the angle if they named Mac Jones the starter, that they would cut Cam Newton. I'm pissed. I mean, I know New England. Like, of course they would do that. I'm so pissed at myself for not bringing up that angle. Mike, I mean, I've been saying to you ever since I've met you, right? New England's into framing the team around the starting quarterback. And like you said yesterday, Cam's one of those guys that busts through the door, and then everybody in the team's like, oh, my gosh, that's Cam Newton. I want to go see him and be friends with him. And then, of course, he's got this great personality that everybody wants to follow. And that's where I'm just like, man, why didn't I mean, of course not. He doesn't want to deal with that.
I've been doing the same
kerfuffle in the locker
thing.
room and all that, right? I mean, he just doesn't want to deal with that. So, you know, Mac beat him out. Cam, you know, not being dependable certainly gave Mac the pathway to get there. And, you know, then it became, okay, we're going to name Mac the starter. He took advantage of that opportunity when Cam was not dependable, and we're going to go from there. And I still go back to that comment last week. I think it was right after the Giants game. Somebody was trying to ask him a question like, are you going to platoon quarterbacks maybe like the 49ers? And he kind of like scoffed at the idea and was like, I think it's pretty important for the team to know who the quarterback is. And that's when I went, okay, there goes the quarterback rotation aspect of it. But damn, Chris Simms, you know New England. I mean, Bill Belichick, the Giant way, the Patriot way. I was just so pissed that I didn't, think of that aspect. And I take Bill at his word with some of that there. And then, of course, he's way too smart to fall into the trap with the rest of that stuff.
10 days ago, Cam Newton was the starter.
Yeah, exactly.
And now he's gone.
Right.
So, yes, his unavailability during a key week of practice opened the door for Mac Jones to seize the job. And for Bill Belichick to decide if Mac is going to be the starter, we can't have Cam Newton around. By the way, I like how you slipped in kerfuffle there. Somebody got a word of the day calendar for his birthday on Sunday.
I don't know where I don't know where I got that. I don't know where I got kerfuffle. I mean, I'm usually one that gets words from when I watch other people on TV or something, and then it kind of sticks in there and I go with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if I know the full meaning of kerfuffle, but I used it, and I used it properly.
Chris Simms, accidental scholar,
yes.
At least for today.
Right.
Here's the needle that you have to thread. And this goes exactly along with what you were saying about Belichick's attitude as it relates to availability. Now, vaccination status, especially if you're not vaccinated, you're tested every day, you could be knocked out for 5 days for a close contact. That goes directly to availability. The Jaguars issued a statement yesterday as they try to clean up the mess that Urban Meyer made Tuesday night when he said, hey, yes, we considered it. Jaguars said yesterday availability is one of the many factors taken into account when making roster decisions. We have vaccinated and unvaccinated players on our roster, and no player was released because of their vaccination status. Ultimately, decisions are based on a player's ability to help the Jaguars win. We educate our players and respect personal decisions as it pertains to the vaccine. We want to keep our players, staff, and families safe as we comply with protocols related to both health and safety and competition on game days. So, it's not about your vaccination status, it's about availability. But your availability is driven in part by your vaccination status because if you're not vaccinated, there's a chance you're not going to be available. This is a dog chasing the tail exercise brought to you by the league and the union because they made these rules. And the union stopped short of mandating vaccines for political reasons. There was a fear, I believe, /no, that there would have been a revolt if the decision had been made back in March that vaccines will be mandatory. And the steps would have been taken potentially, and I don't know enough about the Constitution and the bylaws and the rules and the regulations. All I know is DeMaurice Smith would have had a storm on his hands if he had made vaccines mandatory. So instead of that, you don't make it mandatory, but you create so many incentives for vaccination and so many reasons for a team to push and push and push their guys to get vaccinated. That's how we ended up where we are because it didn't work. We're still short of 100%. They thought they'd get to 100% that way. That's why these rules were created, and now here we are with that small percentage that won't do it. We're caught in this spot where, well, we can't have these guys around, but we can't say it's because they're not vaccinated. Let's say it's because we have availability as one of the factors in deciding who makes the team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the NFL, you're right. I mean, it's the NFL created this. It's hard, you know, but again, I just go back to like the basic point of this is what the hell was Urban Meyer thinking? That's all that comes down to. What the hell was he thinking?
I think he was thinking, the hell with it, I'm going to do it.
This ain't Ohio State or Florida anymore.
I know.
He ain't the sheriff anymore.
but I like the fact that he stopped, he collected himself, and he thought, you know, they told me not to say this, but this is stupid. It's stupid. We're supposed to play this game of course we consider everything, including vaccination status, because it goes directly to availability, but we're not allowed to say it. What the hell are you talking about? Get out of here with that crap.
I know.
I like the fact that he jumped in. That you don't trip into the pool, dive in, and that's what he did.
He's not scared to dive in. We know that about Urban Meyer, and I'm with you. Like, I respect it, but also I want to just be like, what the hell? You knew this was going to cause problems. And, you know, I don't know what kind of penalty the NFL can, you know, put on the Jaguars or if any here in this scenario. I don't think
there'll be anything.
No, probably not.
I think what will happen is a little huff, a little puff,
right,
and nobody's house is getting blown down.
Right.
Because they recognize how stupid the rule is. When the NFL put out the memo on July 22 that said, if you have an outbreak this year among unvaccinated players or staff and you can't play because of it, you will forfeit the game. And they had an open conference call with reporters on the record after that. And I asked the question, how do you reconcile that with the rule that you can't cut players who aren't vaccinated because you're creating an incentive here to get rid of the players who aren't vaccinated? And it was like, it's two different worlds.
Yeah.
It's not two different worlds. It's one. You've jammed it all together. You've created an incentive to get rid of the players who aren't vaccinated. What's going to happen when they do? Nothing. That's what's going to happen. You'll get the perfunctory statement that is more exasperation. Why didn't you just keep his mouth shut? But what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. They'll check some boxes, they'll dot some I's, they'll cross some T's, and I guarantee you nothing will come of it.
I don't doubt that. I don't. I mean, I certainly wouldn't think that if there is a penalty, it's going to be anything like, crucial. Maybe they lose another OTA practice or something like that. But I don't think you're right. I think you're right too. I mean, hey, listen, in some ways, I bet you there's people in NFL management and, the executives in 340 that are kind of glad he said it. Like, yeah, like the message is out there. Players, get vaccinated. Don't screw up our league. The owners, of course, we know they want everybody to get vaccinated. They don't want to have to miss games, pay, lose money, whatever it is. So, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think anything happens. I'm still shocked he said it. Urban, he is. He's cool. Hey, listen, he recruited me coming out of college. He was at Notre Dame. I mean, Urban is a great guy. I've always liked Urban, and he's all about football. And I'm sure some of this stuff he is like, man, what the hell? All these rules in the NFL and things. I'm used to being the Sergeant General and just telling my damn team, do this or you won't freaking play. And it's probably frustrating him to a degree.
I want to know more about Urban Meyer recruiting.
Oh, man, he was the man. I mean, every Saturday morning he'd, call me during my high school days. Some days he'd be like, oh, gosh, Coach, I'm trying to sleep in. It's 7:30. What the hell are you doing calling me? We had a Friday night game, and I was with my girlfriend all night. What are you doing calling me this early? But he was great.
So I assume what happened was
yeah.
I assume what happened was he got your transcript and he realized he's at Notre Dame, and that was the end of that.
No, negative. I was smart enough to go to Notre Dame. I took my visit, and I went there, and he showed me around. My mom came. I mean, he couldn't have been better. And he was one of those coaches, Mike, that you just always knew, like, you come across them every now and then where you just go, man, it's just a matter of time before this guy's a head coach somewhere. He had an unbelievable command and ability to communicate and do everything. Bob Davie was the head coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at the time, but yeah, certainly some good memories there.
Well, bottom line is I like what he did.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have done it, but somebody needed to do it. I kind of like that. And I think at the end of the day, they're not going to do anything about it. They can't. From a PR standpoint, it will create a huge mess if they do, because most people agree with what he said.
Right.
Because they've created the incentive to consider vaccination status because it goes directly to availability.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.